The morning sun crept through the thin curtains of Tiana Williams' small apartment as her alarm buzzed for the third time. With heavy eyes, she reached over to silence it. Just 15 more minutes of sleep would have been heaven, but she couldn't afford to be late again. Mr. Peterson, her boss at Sunrise Diner, had already given her 2 warnings this month. Tiana glanced at her 2 boys still sleeping peacefully in the fold-out bed across the room. Thomas, age 8, had his arm protectively wrapped around his little brother Andra, who was just 5. Their faces, so innocent in sleep, were the reason she pushed herself through double shifts and aching feet. "Time to wake up, my little men," she called softly, running a gentle hand over Thomas's curly hair. School day. While the boys got dressed, Tiana checked their backpacks and packed simple lunches, peanut butter sandwiches, and the last 2 apples from the fridge. The refrigerator was almost empty again, and payday was still 3 days away. "Mummy, my shoes hurt," Andrew said, pointing to his sneakers where his toes pressed visibly against the worn fabric. "I know, baby. We'll get new ones soon as I get paid," Tiana promised, ignoring the knot in her stomach. New shoes meant less money for the electric bill, which was already past due. She'd have to pick up extra shifts this weekend. After dropping the boys at school, Tiana hurried to the bus stop. Her ancient car had finally died 2 months ago, and she couldn't afford repairs. The 40-minute bus ride to work gave her time to check her bank balance on her cracked phone screen. $178.42. Rent was due in 3 days, $850. Even with her next paycheck, she'd still come up short. At Sunrise Diner, Tiana tied her apron and pinned on her name tag with a deep breath. No one here knew how close she was to losing her apartment, and she worked hard to keep it that way. 3 years at this job had taught her to wear her troubles lightly and her smile convincingly. "Morning, Miss Tiana," called Mr. Wilson, a retired teacher who came in every Thursday for the breakfast special. "You're looking bright as sunshine today." "That's because I get to see my favorite customer," she replied with a genuine smile, already pouring his coffee exactly how he liked it, black with just a splash of cream. The morning rush kept her moving nonstop, refilling coffees, taking orders, delivering hot plates, and somehow making each customer feel special. That was Tiana's gift. No matter what chaos swirled in her personal life, when she was on the floor, every person at her tables felt like they mattered. During her break, Tiana called the electric company from the back alley, negotiating a payment plan in hushed tones. They agreed to accept half now, half next week, which would buy her some time. Back inside, she overheard Mr. Peterson talking to the other waitstaff. "We're short-handed tonight. Lou is called in sick, and we've got a big reservation at 7. Everyone needs to stick to their assigned sections, no covering extra tables. We can't have customers waiting for service because you are stretched too thin." Tiana nodded along with everyone else, though her heart sank. Extra tables meant extra tips, and she desperately needed every dollar. As her afternoon shift rolled into evening without a break, Tiana's feet throbbed in her worn-out shoes. She kept moving, kept smiling, kept serving. A young couple left her a $20 tip after she helped them celebrate their anniversary with a complimentary slice of pie. An elderly woman squeezed her hand in thanks when Tiana helped her read the small print on the menu. These small moments of connection kept her going. By 6:30, the dinner rush was building. Tiana glanced at the clock, calculating how many more hours until she could pick up the boys from her neighbor who watched them after school. 4 more hours of smiling through exhaustion. 4 more hours of hoping for good tips. She had no idea that in just 30 minutes, everything would change when an unexpected celebrity walked through the door, and her simple decision to help him would cost her the job she so desperately needed. The diner buzzed with the dinner rush chaos, plates clattering, conversations overlapping, and the sizzle of the grill creating that familiar backdrop of noise. Tiana balanced 3 plates along her arm, delivering them to a family in her section with practiced ease. She was just refilling their water glasses when the front bell chimed. Tiana glanced up out of habit and nearly dropped her water pitcher. A tall, muscular man in a dark hoodie and sunglasses slipped through the door, looking around cautiously before sliding into an empty booth in the far corner. Despite his attempts to blend in, there was no mistaking the famous rapper and basketball personality everyone knew as Big Shaq. "Oh my goodness," whispered one of the teenage girls at Tiana's table, elbowing her sister. "Is that really him?" Tiana gave a small, professional nod. "Folks deserve to eat in peace, no matter who they are," she said quietly, hoping to discourage a scene. The last thing anyone wanted was a celebrity being mobbed while trying to have dinner. She noticed the booth Big Shaq chose was in Kelly's section, but Kelly was swamped with a rowdy party of 12 celebrating a birthday. The birthday group kept calling her over for more drinks, extra napkins, and special requests that had her running back and forth to the kitchen. 5 minutes passed, then 10. Tiana watched from the corner of her eye as Big Shaq shifted uncomfortably in his seat. He checked his phone, then his watch. 15 minutes now, and Kelly still hadn't made it to his table. People were beginning to stare and whisper. A couple of teenagers had their phones out, not so subtly trying to snap pictures. Mr. Peterson's words echoed in her mind, "Stick to your assigned sections." Breaking that rule tonight could mean trouble she couldn't afford. But watching someone sit unattended while hunger and discomfort grew on their face went against everything she believed about good service. Tiana finished with her current tables, making sure everyone had what they needed. Then, making a split-second decision, she grabbed a menu and approached Big Shaq's booth. "Welcome to Sunrise Diner," she said warmly, keeping her voice casual as if he were any other customer. "I know Kelly will be with you as soon as she can, but that birthday party's keeping her running. Would you like to order while you wait?" The tension in Big Shaq's shoulders visibly relaxed. He removed his sunglasses, revealing tired eyes that held genuine gratitude. "That would be great, thank you," he said, his deep voice kept low. "Just trying to grab a quick meal without causing a scene, you know." "I understand," Tiana replied, positioning herself to block the view of curious onlookers. "Our chicken and waffles are the best in town, if you're hungry for something filling." "Sounds perfect," he nodded. "And a chocolate shake." As Tiana wrote down his order, she noticed a group of teens working up the courage to approach. She subtly caught the eye of Louis, the busboy, and motioned toward the group with a small tilt of her head. Louis immediately understood, moving to wipe down nearby tables while casually creating a barrier. Throughout the next 20 minutes, Tiana became Big Shaq's unofficial guardian. She brought his food quickly, checked that everything was to his liking, and ran interference when necessary. When a bold fan approached asking for a photo, she smoothly stepped in. "I'm sorry, but Sunrise has a strict policy about letting all our guests enjoy their meals without interruption," she explained kindly but firmly. The disappointed fan retreated, and Big Shaq gave Tiana a look of such profound relief that it made her momentary anxiety worth it. "Not many people understand what it's like," he said quietly as she refilled his water. "Just wanting to eat a normal meal without it becoming a whole thing. Everyone deserves that basic respect," Tiana replied with a simple shrug. She wasn't treating him special because he was famous. She was treating him special because that's how she treated all her customers. When he finished eating, she brought his check promptly, sensing he was ready to leave. "Thank you," he said, his voice genuine. "You have no idea how rare it is to be treated like a normal person." He handed her his credit card, and when she returned with the receipt, she saw he'd added a $100 tip to his $24 meal. Tiana's heart raced. That was grocery money, electric bill money, maybe even a start on new shoes for Andra. "This is too much," she said automatically. "No," Big Shaq replied firmly. "It's exactly right for the best service I've had in months." As Tiana tucked the receipt into her apron pocket, she felt a moment of pure relief wash over her. Maybe things were turning around. Maybe she wouldn't have to choose between rent and electricity this month. She had no idea that her small act of kindness was about to cost her everything, or that it would open a door she never could have imagined. Tiana watched Big Shaq sign his receipt, still stunned by the generous tip. $100 meant she could finally buy Andra those new shoes he desperately needed. Maybe she could even pay a bit extra on the electric bill. She tucked the receipt carefully into her pocket like it was made of gold. "Thank you again for the normal treatment," Big Shaq said, rising from his booth. He towered over her, his frame impressive even without his celebrity status. "Just doing my job," Tiana replied with a genuine smile. "Hope you enjoyed the chicken and waffles." "Best I've had in a while," he nodded, pulling his hoodie back up. "You've got a gift for making people feel comfortable." As Big Shaq made his way toward the exit, China turned to clear his table. That's when she felt a tight grip on her arm. She looked up to find Mr. Peterson, her manager, staring down at her with a face like thunder. His fingers dug into her arm so hard she winced. "My office." "Now," he hissed, his voice low but sharp enough to cut glass. Tiana's stomach dropped. She'd known helping a customer outside her section was against tonight's rules, but surely Mr. Peterson would understand once she explained. After all, she hadn't done anything wrong except provide good service to someone who needed it. Kelly appeared beside them, arms crossed and lips pursed. "I saw you serving my celebrity," she said, loud enough for nearby tables to hear. "That was my table, my customer, my tip." "Kelly, he sat there for 15 minutes without service," Tiana explained, keeping her voice calm and reasonable. "You were busy with the birthday party. I was just trying to help out." "Help yourself to my big tip, you mean?" Kelly snapped. Mr. Peterson's grip tightened. "I said, my office." Tiana followed him to the small room at the back of the diner, past curious stares from co-workers and customers alike. The walk felt like a mile. Her mind raced. Could she really lose her job over this? What about her boys? What about rent? Once inside, Mr. Peterson slammed the door. The tiny office smelled of old coffee and cigarettes, though smoking hadn't been allowed for years. A security camera blinked in the corner, its red light watching silently. "What part of stick to your assigned section didn't you understand?" he demanded, not bothering to sit down. "I made myself perfectly clear at the start of the shift." "I'm sorry, Mr. Peterson," Tiana said, fighting to keep her voice steady. Kelly was swamped with that big party. The customer had been waiting. Not just any customer, Mr. Peterson cut her off. A celebrity. The kind who leaves $100 tips. He held out his hand. "Hand it over." Tiana's mouth fell open. "The tip? But that's Kelly's money. You poached her table." "I didn't poach anything. I was helping out because you saw dollar signs," Mr. Peterson finished for her. "Kelly told me all about it. Said you've been eyeing her section all night, waiting for a chance to steal her customers." The accusation was so ridiculous, so unfair that Tiana felt tears spring to her eyes. In 3 years, she'd never once stolen another server's table. Everyone in the diner knew she was the first to help out when things got busy, often sacrificing her own tips to make sure customers were served promptly. "That's not true," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. "Ask anyone here. I don't steal tables." "What I know," Mr. Peterson said, leaning in close enough that she could smell his coffee breath, "is that I gave a direct order and you disobeyed it. I can't have staff who don't follow the rules." Tiana felt a coldness spreading through her chest. "Are you firing me?" "Clean out your locker," he said flatly. "We're done here." The room spun around her. 3 years of perfect service, never late, never calling in sick, always the first to volunteer for holiday shifts so parents could be with their children. All of it meant nothing now. "Please," she whispered, hating the desperation in her voice but unable to hold it back. "I have 2 little boys at home. Rent is due in 3 days. I need this job." For a moment, she thought she saw a flicker of uncertainty in Mr. Peterson's eyes. Then Kelly appeared in the doorway, hand outstretched. "I'll take my tip now," she demanded. Mr. Peterson's face hardened again. "You heard me. Clean out your locker and leave Kelly's tip on the desk." With trembling hands, Tiana placed the receipt on the desk. The $100 that had briefly represented hope now seemed to mock her. She walked out with her head high, past Kelly's smug expression, past the curious stares of customers, toward the employee locker room. What she didn't see was Big Shaq standing near the exit, watching the entire scene unfold. What she didn't know was that a customer had been recording the confrontation on their phone. What she couldn't possibly imagine was how quickly her life was about to change. Tiana's hands trembled as she opened her locker. 3 years of her life fit into a small metal box, a spare hair tie, a wrinkled photo of her boys, an extra pair of non-slip socks, and a half-empty bottle of pain relief tablets for when her feet swelled during double shifts. She stuffed everything into her one purse, biting her lip to hold back tears. The employee break room door swung open and Louis, the busboy, slipped in. His young face was twisted with concern. Is it true? He asked, his voice barely above a whisper. Did Peterson really fire you for helping that table? Tiana nodded, not trusting herself to speak without breaking down. 3 years of perfect attendance, of volunteering for holiday shifts, of covering for coworkers when their kids got sick, all gone because she tried to help a customer get served. That's messed up, Lewis said, shaking his head. Everyone knows Kelly's been gunning for you since you got Employee of the Month 3 times in a row. It doesn't matter now, Tiana finally managed, zipping her purse closed. The reality of her situation was starting to sink in. No job meant no rent money. No rent money meant possible eviction. Where would she and her boys go? Louis pulled something from his pocket, a crumpled $20 bill. Here, he said, pushing it toward her. I know it's not much, but... I can't take your money, Tiana said, though the gesture nearly broke the dam holding back her tears. It's not charity, Louis insisted. It's for all the times you helped me learn the menu when I first started. For covering my section when my mom was in the hospital. Please, Tiana. The kindness was almost worse than the cruelty. Tiana accepted the money with shaking hands, knowing that Louis, barely 19 and supporting his mother, couldn't afford to give it away. Thank you, she whispered. I'll pay you back as soon as I can. As she walked out through the kitchen to avoid the dining room stairs, the cook, Darnell, pressed a paper bag into her hands. Chicken and waffles to go, he murmured, for those boys of yours. By the time Tiana pushed through the back door into the alley, tears were streaming freely down her face. The night air was cool against her skin, the stars hidden behind city lights and low clouds. She leaned against the rough brick wall, finally allowing herself to break down. What would she tell Thomas and Anda? How would she explain that Mommy couldn't buy new shoes after all? That they might have to stay with Aunt Dorothy while she figured things out? The thought of their confused, disappointed faces made her sob harder. She didn't hear the footsteps approaching until a shadow fell across her. Miss? Excuse me, miss. Tiana quickly wiped her tears, embarrassed to be caught crying in an alley. A middle-aged woman stood there, phone in hand, expression concerned. I'm sorry to bother you, the woman said gently. But I was inside. I saw what happened. Great, Tiana thought. A witness to her humiliation. I recorded it, the woman continued, holding up her phone. The way they treated you was wrong. I posted it online already, and people are outraged. It's getting shared like crazy. Tiana blinked, not understanding. You recorded it? The security camera caught everything too, the woman explained. My husband works in it, and he's friends with the guy who installed the system. The footage automatically backs up to the cloud. None of this made sense to Tiana. Why would anyone care about a waitress losing her job? It happened every day. Look, the woman said, turning her phone screen toward Tiana. On the small screen was a video of Tiana being confronted by Mr. Peterson and Kelly. The angle showed Kelly's smug face clearly, captured Mr. Peterson's rough grip on Tiana's arm, recorded every word of the unfair accusation. And there in the background, standing near the exit, was Big Shaq, watching the whole thing with a frown on his face. The view count at the bottom of the video already showed 7,428. People are tagging Big Shaq in the comments, the woman explained. Everyone's saying how wrong it was. #Justice for Shana is trending in our area. Tiana felt lightheaded. This had to be a weird dream, some stress-induced nightmare where her private humiliation became public spectacle. I don't understand, she whispered. Why would anyone care? Because it's not right, the woman said simply. You helped someone who needed it, and you got punished for being decent. That's a story people connect with. As if to emphasize her point, the woman's phone buzzed with a notification, then another and another. They're coming in fast now, she said, scanning her screen. Oh, someone who says they're from Big Shaq's management team is asking for your contact information. They want to reach you. Tiana pressed her back against the brick wall, feeling its rough support as her knees threatened to give out. This couldn't be happening. Things like this didn't happen to people like her. Good luck, unexpected blessings, those belonged to other people's stories, not hers. I think things are about to change for you, the woman said, her eyes kind. Can I give them your number? Tiana stared at the phone like it might bite her. What choice did she have? With no job and rent due, any possibility, no matter how strange, was worth exploring. "Okay," she said finally. "But I don't think anything will come of it." She had no idea how wrong she was. The bus ride home felt surreal. Tanyana gripped the paper bag of chicken and waffles on her lap, her mind still trying to process everything that had happened. One moment she'd had a steady job, the next she was unemployed, and then suddenly her story was spreading across the internet like wildfire. The woman, Nancy, she'd said her name was, had given Tiana's number to someone claiming to be from Big Shaq's team. But Tiana wasn't holding her breath. Famous people didn't concern themselves with the problems of ordinary folks like her. That only happened in movies. The bus wheezed to a stop near her apartment complex. Tiana thanked the driver, a habit from her waitressing days that she couldn't shake, and walked the final 2 blocks home. The streets were quiet this late, just the occasional car passing by and the distant sound of someone's television floating through an open window. Her neighbor Dorothy was dozing on the couch when Tiana let herself in. The older woman startled awake, adjusting her glasses. "You're home early," Dorothy said, checking her watch. "Everything okay?" Tiana couldn't bring herself to explain. "Not yet." "Fine," she lied. "They let me off early. How were the boys?" "Angels, as always," Dorothy said, gathering her purse. "Thomas finished his math homework, and Andrew drew you a picture. It's on the fridge." After Dorothy left, Tiana peeked in on her sleeping sons. Thomas had his arm flung across his forehead, just like his father used to sleep. Andrew was curled up tight like a little shrimp, clutching his one stuffed elephant. Her heart ached looking at them. They deserved so much better than a mother who couldn't even keep a waitressing job. In the kitchen, she found Andrew's drawing, a colorful scribble that somehow perfectly captured their little family holding hands. Tears welled up again, and she let them fall. There was no one to be strong for now. Tiana spread her bills across the tiny kitchen table. Even with her final paycheck, she'd still be short for rent. She could try payday loans, but the interest would bury her deeper. Maybe her cousin in Atlanta could help, though she hated asking. Her phone buzzed beside her. A text from an unknown number. "Ms. Williams, my name is Patricia Lee, Executive Assistant to Mr. Shaquille. We're trying to reach you regarding tonight's incident. Please call this number at your earliest convenience." Tiana stared at the message. It had to be a joke or a scam. But how would a scammer know about what had happened tonight? With trembling fingers, she typed a response. "Is this really from Big Shaq's team?" The reply came almost instantly. "Yes, Ms. Williams. Mr. Shaquille was very disturbed by how you were treated tonight. He'd like to speak with you tomorrow if possible." Tiana's exhausted brain couldn't process this. It felt too much like a dream or a cruel prank. She decided to be cautious. "I'm sorry, but I need some proof this is legitimate." A moment later, her phone rang. She answered warily. "Ms. Williams?" The woman's voice was crisp, professional. "This is Patricia Lee. I understand your hesitation. If you check social media, you'll see that Mr. Shaquille has just posted about looking for the waitress who treated me with kindness and dignity tonight, only to be fired for it. He's quite determined to speak with you." Tiana quickly opened her social media app. Sure enough, there was a post from Big Shaq's official account describing what had happened and asking for help finding her. The comments section was exploding with people tagging her, sharing the video, and expressing outrage at her treatment. I don't understand," Tiana whispered. "Why would he care about me?" "Mr. Shaquille values kindness and respect above all else," Patricia explained. "What he witnessed tonight bothered him deeply. He'd like to meet with you tomorrow morning if possible. We can send a car to pick you up." Tiana glanced at her sleeping boys, at the bills spread across the table, at the eviction notice that would surely come if she didn't make rent. What did she have to lose? "I need to arrange childcare for my sons," she said. "Of course. Would 10 a.m. work for you? And please, bring your sons along if needed. Mr. Shaquille is a family man himself." After hanging up, Tiana sat in stunned silence. She should be exhausted. It was nearly midnight, and she'd been on her feet since 5 a.m. But adrenaline kept her wide awake. She tried calling her sister, Rose, but got no answer. She wanted to tell someone, anyone, about this strange turn of events, but who would believe her? She opened her laptop, an old model that frequently froze, and navigated to the social media site. The video of her confrontation with Mr. Peterson now had over 50,000 views. People were commenting from all over the country, calling her a hero for standing up for good service, calling the manager a bully, calling Kelly names Tiana wouldn't repeat. And there it was, Big Shaq's official account had posted. "Tonight I witnessed something that broke my heart. A kind waitress who treated me with dignity got fired for simply doing her job well. I need to find her. If you know the waitress from Sunrise Diner who got fired tonight, please tag her. I want to make this right. #Justice for Shanna." The post had 200,000 likes already and was growing by the minute. Tiana finally closed the laptop, her hands shaking. She didn't know what tomorrow would bring, but for the first time since Mr. Peterson had said, "You're fired," she felt a tiny spark of hope. That night, she dreamed of chicken and waffles, of Big Shaq standing tall like an avenging angel in the diner doorway, and of her sons wearing brand new shoes that didn't pinch their growing feet. Morning came too quickly. Tiana had barely slept, her mind racing with questions about what today might bring. She woke the boys earlier than usual, trying to explain the situation in terms they could understand. "We're going to meet someone very important today," she told them as she helped Andrew button his shirt. "Someone who saw Mommy working hard yesterday." "Is it about your job?" Thomas asked, his eyes too serious for an 8-year-old. He'd always been perceptive, picking up on her stress even when she tried to hide it. "Sort of," Tiana admitted, smoothing his collar. "But don't worry about that right now." At precisely 9:45 a.m., her phone buzzed with a text. "Car is outside your building." Tiana peered through the window blinds and gasped. A sleek black SUV with tinted windows waited by the curb, looking wildly out of place in her neighborhood. The driver, wearing a crisp suit, stood beside it. "Is that for us, Mommy?" Andrew asked, pressing his nose against the glass. "I think it is, baby," she replied, still not quite believing it herself. As they approached the vehicle, the driver smiled warmly. "Ms. Williams? I'm David. I'll be taking you to meet Mr. Shaquille this morning." The boy's eyes widened as David opened the door, revealing buttery leather seats and a small cooler of juice boxes and snacks. "For the young gentleman," he explained with a wink. During the 40-minute drive downtown, Tiana tried to temper her expectations. Maybe Big Shaq just wanted to offer her a job at another restaurant. Maybe he wanted to give her a small gift card to help until she found new work. Whatever it was, she told herself not to hope for too much. The SUV pulled up to a gleaming office building with reflective glass windows stretching toward the sky. David escorted them through the lobby, past security, and into a private elevator that whooshed them upwards so fast Andrew giggled with delight. When the doors opened, they stepped into a reception area where a stylish woman with close-cropped hair and sharp eyes waited. "Ms. Williams," she said, extending her hand. "I'm Patricia Lee. We spoke on the phone. And these must be your boys." She knelt down to their level. "You must be very proud of your mom. She's a very special person." Thomas nodded solemnly, while Andrew hid partially behind Tiana's leg. "Mr. Shaquille is ready to see you now," Patricia said, rising. "This way, please." She led them down a hallway lined with framed basketball jerseys and awards to a corner office with floor-to-ceiling windows. Sitting behind a massive desk was Big Shaq himself, larger than life and somehow even more imposing in person than he had seemed in the diner. When he saw them, he stood immediately, his expression breaking into a warm smile. Thomas gasped, recognizing him from TV commercials and billboards. "Ms. Williams," Big Shaq said, his deep voice filling the room as he extended a hand that dwarfed Tiana's. "Thank you for coming. And who are these fine young men?" After introductions, he invited them to sit at a comfortable seating area. Andrew, initially shy, was now staring openly at Big Shaq's height. "Are you really tall as a tree?" he blurted out, making the adults laugh. "Sometimes I feel like one," Big Shaq replied with a grin. He turned to Tiana, his expression growing serious. "I want to talk about what happened last night." Tiana nodded, suddenly nervous. "It was just a misunderstanding." "No," Big Shaq interrupted gently. "It wasn't. What I saw was a hard-working woman being mistreated for doing the right thing, for showing basic human kindness." He leaned forward, his huge frame somehow not intimidating despite his size. Do you know how rare that is in today's world? To be treated like a normal person. Not as a celebrity, not as a photo opportunity, but just as another human being who wants to eat his dinner in peace. Tiana didn't know what to say. She'd only done what seemed right. The video of what happened has over 1 million views now, he continued. People are outraged. Sunrise Diner's social media is being flooded with negative comments. They've had to disconnect their phone because of all the calls. I didn't want that, Tiana said quickly. I don't wish them harm. That's exactly why I wanted to meet you, Big Shaq said, smiling. Even now, you're thinking of others. That manager took your job, took your tip, but you're still concerned about their well-being. That kind of character is rare. He nodded to Patricia, who handed him a folder. Ms. Williams, I've been looking to expand my business interests beyond sports and entertainment. For the past year, I've been planning to open a chain of family restaurants focusing on Southern comfort food in a welcoming atmosphere. Tiana's brow furrowed, not understanding where this was going. What I've been missing, Big Shaq continued, is someone who understands exceptional customer service. Someone who knows how to make people feel valued and respected. Someone exactly like you. Her heart began to race as he opened the folder. I'd like to offer you a position as the customer experience manager for my new restaurant chain. The starting salary is $75,000 per year, with full benefits, including health insurance, paid vacation, and a college savings plan for your boys. Tiana couldn't breathe. The amount he just casually mentioned was more than 3 times what she'd made at the diner. It was life-changing money. I don't have the education for a position like that, she stammered. Education can be acquired, Big Shaq shrugged. Character is built over a lifetime. You can learn management systems and procedures. I can't teach someone to care the way you naturally do. Thomas, who had been quietly taking it all in, suddenly spoke up. Does this mean Mum won't have to work double shifts anymore? Big Shaq looked at the serious little boy and nodded. That's exactly what it means, young man. Your mum will work normal hours, with weekends off to spend with you. Tears filled Tiana's eyes as the reality began to sink in. This wasn't just a job offer. It was freedom from constant financial stress. It was time with her children. It was dignity. There's one more thing, Big Shaq said, reaching for another folder. The first restaurant opens in 3 months. Until then, we'd like to hire you as a consultant to help develop our service standards. And this? He slid a check across the table that made Tiana gasp. Consider it an advance on your salary. I understand you have rent due soon. Tiana stared at the check in her hands, the amount blurring through her tears. $10,000. More money than she'd ever held at once in her entire life. I can't accept this, she whispered, even as her fingers trembled around the paper that could solve so many problems. Big Shaq leaned back in his chair, studying her with a gentle expression. You know, that's exactly why I'm sure I found the right person. Most people would have grabbed that check and run before I changed my mind. Beside her, Thomas was looking up with wide, concerned eyes, not understanding why his mother was crying. Andrew had climbed into her lap, his small hand patting her cheek. Don't be sad, Mummy, he said. These are happy tears, baby, Tiana explained, pulling both boys close. She looked up at Big Shaq, still struggling to find words. I don't know how to thank you. You don't need to thank me, he replied. This isn't charity. It's an investment in someone exceptional. The only thanks I need is for you to bring that same level of care to helping build this business. Patricia handed Tiana a tissue and then gently herded the boys over to a corner of the office where a basketball-themed video game waited. Why don't you guys try this while your mom and Mr. Shaquille finish talking business? She suggested. Once the boys were occupied, Big Shaq's expression grew more serious. There's something else I want to discuss with you. That diner manager and the waitress who accused you, they were wrong. Deeply wrong. It's water under the bridge now, Tiana said quietly. Maybe for you, Big Shaq nodded. Your character shows in how quickly you're willing to forgive. But I think there are consequences people should face for their actions. He pulled out his phone, showing her a news article from that morning. The headline read, Sunrise DINERFIODFTOVIOLVIDEO Shadows Unifao Diastemysal. The owner of the diner chain reached out to me personally this morning, Big Shaq explained. He was horrified by what happened. Mr. Peterson was fired first thing today, and they're looking into complaints from other employees about his management style. Apparently, you weren't the first person he treated unfairly. A complicated mix of emotions washed over Tiana. She didn't wish ill on anyone, but there was a certain justice in knowing Mr. Peterson would now understand what it felt like to lose a job unexpectedly. And Kelly? She asked before she could stop herself. Transferred to another location and on probation, Big Shaq said. But that's not all. The owner asked if you consider coming back with a substantial raise and as the new manager. A small laugh escaped Tiana's lips. Seriously. I told him he was too late, Big Shaq grinned. You've got bigger things ahead. Patricia returned with the employment contract, and over the next hour, they went through the details. The position would include not just overseeing customer experience for the flagship restaurant, but developing training programs for all future locations. There would be business trips, conferences, and educational opportunities. Big Shaq wanted to send her to hospitality management courses at the local college, all expenses paid. I still can't believe this is happening, Tiana said as she signed the final page. Believe it, Big Shaq replied. Sometimes the universe has a way of putting the right people in the right place at the right time. I was meant to eat at that diner last night. You were meant to help me. And now we're going to do something great together. As if on cue, Andrew ran over, tugging at Big Shaq's sleeve. Are you going to be my mom's new boss? Big Shaq chuckled. More like her business partner, little man. Does that mean you'll come to my school for career day? Andrew asked with the directness only a 5-year-old could muster. Andrew, Tiana gasped, mortified. If your mom says it's okay, I'd be honored, Big Shaq replied solemnly, holding out his massive hand for a high five that nearly swallowed Andrew's entire arm. 6 months later, Tiana stood in the gleaming kitchen of Comfort and Joy, the flagship restaurant of Big Shaq's new chain. Opening night had been a smashing success, with lines out the door and glowing reviews already pouring in online. Her team of servers, all trained in what they now called the Tiana method of customer service, moved efficiently through the packed dining room. The restaurant's mission statement, framed near the entrance, read, "Everyone who walks through these doors deserves to be treated with dignity and respect." Below it hung a small photo of a diner booth, a reminder of where it all began. In the private dining room, Big Shaq was hosting a special group, Thomas and Andrew's entire elementary school class, all wide-eyed and starstruck. The boys, dressed in child-sized versions of the restaurant's staff uniforms, proudly helped serve special kid-friendly mocktails. Tiana watched from the doorway, her heart full. Her new apartment was just 10 minutes away, in a safe neighborhood with good schools. Both boys had new shoes, several pairs, in fact. The college funds Big Shaq had set up were growing steadily. For the first time in years, she wasn't living paycheck to paycheck, counting pennies, and lying awake worrying about bills. As if sensing her thoughts, Big Shaq looked up and raised his glass in her direction. She smiled and nodded back, thinking of how a single moment of kindness had changed everything. Later that night, after the restaurant closed and the staff celebrated their successful opening, Tiana found a moment alone with Big Shaq. I've been thinking about starting something, she said. A program for single parents in the service industry. Something to help with emergency childcare, financial literacy, maybe even small grants for education. Tell me more, he said, his expression thoughtful. I was lucky, you saw me and changed my life. But there are thousands of others still struggling, still choosing between rent and shoes for their kids. Her voice grew more passionate as she continued. We could use some of the restaurant profits to fund it. Call it the Second Chance Initiative or something. Big Shaq studied her for a long moment, then broke into a wide smile. See, this is exactly why you're here. You've barely gotten on your feet, and already you're thinking about lifting others up. He extended his hand to shake on it. Let's do it. Draft a proposal, and we'll make it happen. As they walked out into the cool night air, Tiana looked up at the restaurant's illuminated sign, her workplace, her future, her second chance. You know, Big Shaq said thoughtfully, when I walked into that diner, I was just looking for a quiet meal. Instead, I found something much more valuable. What's that? Tiana asked. A reminder that kindness matters. That one person doing the right thing can start a chain reaction. He looked down at her with genuine respect. Never forget that you're the hero of this story, Tiana. Not me. You. And for the first time in her life, Tiana Williams believed it. If your mom says it's okay, I'd be honored, Big Shaq replied solemnly, holding out his massive hand for a high five that nearly swallowed Andrew's entire arm. 6 months later, Tiana stood in the gleaming kitchen of Comfort and Joy, the flagship restaurant of Big Shaq's new chain. Opening night had been a smashing success, with lines out the door and glowing reviews already pouring in online. Her team of servers, all trained in what they now called the Tiana method of customer service, moved efficiently through the packed dining room. The restaurant's mission statement, framed near the entrance, read, "Everyone who walks through these doors deserves to be treated with dignity and respect." Below it hung a small photo of a diner booth, a reminder of where it all began. In the private dining room, Big Shaq was hosting a special group, Thomas and Andrew's entire elementary school class, all wide-eyed and starstruck. The boys, dressed in child-sized versions of the restaurant's staff uniforms, proudly helped serve special kid-friendly mocktails. Tiana watched from the doorway, her heart full. Her new apartment was just 10 minutes away, in a safe neighborhood with good schools. Both boys had new shoes, several pairs, in fact. The college funds Big Shaq had set up were growing steadily. For the first time in years, she wasn't living paycheck to paycheck, counting pennies and lying awake worrying about bills. As if sensing her thoughts, Big Shaq looked up and raised his glass in her direction. She smiled and nodded back, thinking of how a single moment of kindness had changed everything. Later that night, after the restaurant closed and the staff celebrated their successful opening, Tiana found a moment alone with Big Shaq. "I've been thinking about starting something," she said. "A program for single parents in the service industry. Something to help with emergency childcare, financial literacy, maybe even small grants for education." "Tell me more," he said, his expression thoughtful. "I was lucky. You saw me and changed my life. But there are thousands of others still struggling, still choosing between rent and shoes for their kids." Her voice grew more passionate as she continued. "We could use some of the restaurant profits to fund it. Call it the Second Chance Initiative or something." Big Shaq studied her for a long moment, then broke into a wide smile. "See, this is exactly why you're here. You've barely gotten on your feet, and already you are thinking about lifting others up." He extended his hand to shake on it. "Let's do it. Draft a proposal, and we'll make it happen." As they walked out into the cool night air, Tiana looked up at the restaurant's illuminated sign, her workplace, her future, her second chance. "You know," Big Shaq said thoughtfully, "when I walked into that diner, I was just looking for a quiet meal. Instead, I found something much more valuable." "What's that?" Tiana asked. A reminder that kindness matters. That one person doing the right thing can start a chain reaction. He looked down at her with genuine respect. "Never forget that you're the hero of this story, Tiana. Not me. You." And for the first time in her life, Tiana Williams believed it.